if you're having more than one crisis a week, your life needs to be re-examined. If you're having more than one crisis a week, because think about that. There are people that they have 14 crises a day. Every day they come into work. And then my mail wasn't in its place today. And they go through everything as a crisis, and the kids weren't in their seats. And every day is like that. And I'm thinking, wow. Now let me tell you about what's a crisis, folks. Losing your home to Hurricane Katrina, that's a crisis. You got a child who's in a diabetic coma, that's a crisis. You have a dear friend who's dying of cancer, that's a crisis. Who left the cap off the toothpaste? It's not a crisis. Long lines in the stores, that's not a crisis. That's an inconvenience. And what you'll notice about great problem solvers is that they can differentiate between the two. There's a lot of inconveniences in life, but they're happening to all of us. They're not just happening to you. And she said it changed her life. It changed the way she viewed her relationship with her daughter. It changed her thankfulness. And it's about discovering yourself through becoming selfless. What are you going to do in your life to become selfless?
Enthusiasm, motivation, inspiration, joy. These are the things that make our lives richer, fuller, and more productive. They are also the qualities found in successful organizations and successful people.
We've all experienced this when you walk into the teacher's lounge and that person comes flying in, I got 5 years till retirement. And, they don't like themselves. They don't like their job. They don't like the kids. And I'm thinking, why wait 5 years? Do us all a favor.
When leaders, administrators, or executives have the task of developing these qualities, choosing the right speaker can make all the difference in the world.
There's a saying that says, anger and the inability to forgive is like poisoning yourself and hoping the other person dies. Have you ever noticed the most miserable people they spend their lifetime poisoning themselves and hoping the other person dies? It's as though that some of these people believe there must be some kind of reward at the end of life. Maybe there's an anal retentive trophy or something, Hey, St. Peter, I cut off the most people on the highway. Where's my trophy? Woohoo!
Dr. Stephen Birchak, affectionately known as Dr. Bird, has the ability to bring these qualities to your organization. Mixing humor, stories, energy, passion, and a quarter of a century of experience in higher education, Dr. Bird can get an audience moving like no other speaker you've heard.
I think that also, when I say be the person who sees the best in others, we have to be that person who always sees those good things in people. Because, I think that if you've ever had a difficult life and you've had people that see the worst in you, you know how difficult that can be. And, I know for me, it's like I was very distractible as a kid. You may not believe this, but I was very distractible. And I'm distractible now. I'm like the king of distractibility. My wife and I, we went out shopping a couple of months ago. And remember very well because she will trust me with the little basket, but not with the cart, because that's the mothership. I might lose it or something. Like distractible kids, you send them on little missions. So she says, Steve, go get us some bananas. So I go and I get the bananas. And I take the bananas and I find our cart and I put them in the cart. And then I pat my wife on the back and I say, I'll meet you over at the deli. And I look up over at the deli. And there's my wife in a red jacket. And I'm thinking, either she's really fast or I just touched a stranger. And I look over here, there's a woman in a red jacket just like my wife. The rest of the shopping trip, I'm hiding behind cereal boxes. So I always thought, what it'd be like later on if she went to the security. And then the little man touched me. And then he said he wanted to meet me. So I guess my point is don't punish kids for distractibility,
Successful author, professor, educator, athlete, and former National College Coach of the Year. Dr. Bird taps into a wealth of knowledge and experience. His presentations draw upon decades of education and a doctorate in counseling psychology from the University of Northern Colorado. Dr. Bird has the unique ability to apply principles relating to character, leadership, and change. Working with your group, he will create a tailor-made keynote or workshop to address the specific challenges facing your organization. You can count on enthusiasm.
I don't think that rejection necessarily makes us a lesser human being. In fact, I think sometimes rejection makes us a little bit stronger because we learn to work through things a little bit. But, imagine, in your life, wherever you got your resilience from. Where did you get your toughness from? Where did you get your toughness from? And very often I think, well, I got through this by myself. But if you notice when people accept awards and they'll do all kinds of things in sports or even when they dedicate a book, they're always saying something about the people that they love. And I think this is a great lesson for anybody, especially in education, is you have to think about what brought you through the things that were the toughest in your life. And I guarantee you, the quality of the person that was in your life is that they saw something in you that nobody else saw, or at least they saw it better than everybody else. And I think that's one remarkable quality about teachers and coaches and mentors and parents who are building successful children is that they see something in them that other people don't.
And you can count on genuineness and inspiration.
Eric Fromm had a wonderful quote, and he said, "Give that which is alive in you. If nothing is alive in you, you have nothing to give." And that all of those things that are alive in us, we need to give those to the people that we work with.
Dr. Bird has become a popular and highly sought-after speaker, and it's not by chance. It's because he delivers a stimulating, moving, and memorable experience. Sean Casey, former University of Maine administrator, says, "In my 30 years as an administrator, I have had the opportunity to meet, hear, train with, and be inspired by some of the best speakers and intellects in the field of education. In that time, I have never met anyone better than Steve Birchak. He is simply one of the best."
You know how it is with Murphy's Law, where you get into line and you notice that all the other ones just start moving at light speed? I was in one of those lines one day, and I'm standing in this line, though, and I look up, and there's this girl. She's 16 years old, and you know what they do, public humiliation. They put the in-training bar up there. And it's like the worst day of her life. It's probably the first day on the job, and everything is going wrong. The weight of the bananas, the broccoli is the wrong price, the check won't clear, and now the visa won't clear. And I look up, and this girl's having the worst day of her life. And now by the time we move up in the line, she's leaning on the counter, she's got tears in her eyes, and there was this little woman in front of me that she sets all her stuff on the counter, she reaches over, puts her hand on the girl's hand, she says, "Honey, hang in there. I just think you're doing a good job." And the girl comes back, she says, "You just made my day." And I always remember that because I think, let's just back up. We're standing in this line, there's a half dozen of us there, and we're all feeling sorry for ourselves because we have more lines open, we should have this, and there's this woman who sees somebody in pain. She sees somebody in pain. And one of the things that happens with apathy is that we stop seeing people in their time of need. We stop seeing people in their time of need when we become apathetic. And of all the people on the line, it's this woman who took 5 seconds, a few words, and she made this girl's day.
Pamela Bernbach of North Colony Schools describes it as extremely inspirational and memorable. His presentation was so dynamic and motivational that the staff are still talking about it.
Imagine yourself, though, if you signed on to do a job, and the first 5 times that you were going to be evaluated, you failed. And then the next 5 times you were going to be evaluated, you failed. What would keep you coming back? And I guarantee you, if you think about all the things that really took resilience and toughness, it was somebody there that says, "I believe in you." And you bought that.
HeartShare Human Services of New York said, "Our staff can be a tough audience, and they could not stop raving about the day."
In terms of being aware of what we give in life, Danny Thomas, who was a wonderful, spent a lifetime of giving, a lot of foundations he created, said a wonderful thing. He said, "There are 2 kinds of people in this world, the givers and the takers. The takers eat better, but the givers sleep better." And when you think about giving, there's a lot of opportunities for us to take, and take. But in our lifetime, there's an awful lot of opportunities to give as well. And one of the things I always wonder about is, why is it easier for us to give our pain than for us to give our kindness? You ever notice that? It's just like it's easier for me to be cruel than it is for me to be kind. I once heard a woman as she came to work, she says, "I got in the last word on my husband today." And she was so proud of that. And I was thinking, wow, I'll bet he ran off to work and kissed your picture. But what are we expecting to do whenever we're bothered that the best we can come up with is giving people our cruelty? And answering an act of cruelty with more cruelty only builds more cruelty.
And perhaps Dr. Perry Berkowitz of PLB Organizational Support summed it up best when he said, "In my 30 years as an administrator, I noted that oftentimes speakers come and go and are forgotten. Few are remembered, and even fewer are extraordinarily memorable. Dr. Birchak falls into the highest group of those speakers."